Hello, it's Willie from the Ozarks, and we're ready for our March the 28th lesson in A Course in Miracles workbook for students. We're ready for lesson 87. We'll be reading out of the original edition. Our review today will cover these ideas. I will there be light, and there is no will but God's. I will there be light. I will use the power of my will today. I will use the power of my will today. It is not my will to grope about in darkness, fearful of shadows and afraid of things unseen and unreal. Light shall be my guide today. I will follow it where it leads me, and I will look on what it shows me. This day I will experience the peace of true perception. This day I will experience the peace of true perception. And if you get tempted to hold a grievance, well then tell yourself, the general idea is I will there be light. These forms of this idea would be helpful for specific application against that grievance maybe. This cannot hide the light I will to see. This cannot hide the light I will to see. That's why we want to will according to what's true, what's real, what's going on already. God's will. A will with it. Will to be, how to say it? I will there be light. Or you might say, you cannot stand with me in light, and name the person that you're having difficulty with. You stand with me in light, friend. Or in the light, this will look different. In the light, this will look different. It ain't going to seem like a terrifying perception. In the light, you're going to see that everyone's part of the same family and that love is the only reality. Okay? And then you're going to do that this morning, and then this afternoon, you're going to say, there is no will but God's. There is no will but God's. I am safe today because there is no will but God's. I can become afraid only when I believe that there is another will. Isn't that what's such freedom to realize that everything's interconnected in God? Everything. So there's only one will, and there is no will but God's. I can become afraid only when I believe that there is another will. I try to attack only when I am afraid. And only when I try to attack can I believe that my eternal safety is threatened. Today I will recognize that all this has not occurred. I am safe because there is no will but God's. I am safe because there is no will but God's. We're all winners. We all make it home. These are some useful forms of this idea for specific application. Let me perceive this in accordance with the will of God. Let me perceive this in accordance with the will of God. Or, it is not God's will, it is God's will, you are His son, and then name the person, and mine as well. It is God's will, you are His son, friend, and mine as well. And name that person you're having difficulty in there where I said friend. And if you don't know their name, then call them friend in your mind. It is God's will, you are His son, friend, and mine as well. Learn to see everyone as your dear brother and your friend. And another specific application example. This is part of God's will for me, however I may see it. This is part of God's will for me, however I may see it. That's letting just what is be. Realizing that everything that happens is God's will, you might as well see it through the eyes that God's seeing it through, where only good is coming forth. All right? All right. So, I will there be light, and there is no will but God's. Okay, I am sitting on the banks of where the Neosho and the Spring River come together, and I think I'm sitting on the Spring River. I'm over in Oklahoma. Right when they come together, it forms the Grand Lake of the Cherokee. And this is a place called Twin Bridges and I'm just sitting out here on the overlooking the lake. And Jessica and I had a picnic here and thought it was a nice place to have our lesson reading today. While you're turning to our text reading, which is still in chapter 15, the purpose of time, we're ready for, where are we ready for? We're ready for paragraph 87 in section 9, the holy instant and real relationships. So while you're turning there, let me tell you about it. You know, you can be planting all your cold weather stuff. If it gets really down real cold yet this year, you may want to throw something over it. Some leaves, some straw, a blanket, a sheet, anyways, a piece of plastic, a lot of different things you could put on it if you're going to get down to real cold. But a lot of things, we may not have any more frost this year. Bronze Arrowhead is a type of lettuce I wanted to tell you about. I'm reading this to you out of the Seed Saver Exchange. And the Bronze Arrowhead, it says it's introduced as Bronze Beauty by Germain Seed Company. Awarded the bronze medal at the 1947 All-American Selections, hailed as the finest, most colorful, and most delicious leaf lettuce for the home garden. Our favorite oak leaf type, and it's a loose leaf, and it's 40 to 50 days, so pretty quick, you know, to get you some lettuce. And lettuce is one of those plants that, you know, you don't have a real long window to plant and grow in the spring. It tends to get hot. So anyway, definitely can get you some lettuce planted, and that's one that I like. It's the Bronze Arrowhead Heirloom Oak Leaf Lettuce. I'm not sure I've used the Bronze Arrow Leaf before, but oak leaf lettuce is kind of like one lettuce and you get some green and some red all mixed together. That's what I like about it, color-wise. Okay, let's start in paragraph 86, and I've got that first sentence underlined. I just think it's such a wonderful thought. Our task is but to continue as fast as possible the necessary process of looking straight at all the interference and seeing it exactly as it is. So we're going through a process here, and this process is awakening, and we're looking for anything that interferes with our happiness, with the kingdom of heaven. So our task is but to continue as fast as possible the necessary process of looking straight at all the interference and seeing it exactly as it is. For it is impossible to recognize as wholly without gratification what you think you want. The body is the symbol of the ego, as the ego is the symbol of the separation. And both are nothing more than attempts to limit communication and thereby to make it impossible. For communication must be unlimited in order to have meaning, and deprived of meaning, it will not satisfy you completely. Yet it remains the only means by which you can establish real relationships. 87. Real relationships have no limits, having been established by God. In the holy instant where the great rays replace the body in awareness, the recognition of relationships without limits is given you. But to see this, it is necessary to give up every use the ego has for the body and to accept the fact that the ego has no purpose you would share with it. For the ego would limit everyone to a body for its purpose, and while you think it has a purpose, you will choose to utilize the means by which it tries to turn its purpose into accomplishment. This will never be accomplished. Yet you have surely recognized that the ego, whose goals are altogether unattainable, will strive for them with all its might, and will do so with the strength which you have given it. It is impossible to divide your strength between heaven and hell, God and the ego, and to release your power into creation, which is the only purpose for which it was given you. Love would always give increase. Limits are demanded by the ego, representing its demands to make little and ineffectual. Limit your vision of a brother to his body, which you will do as long as you would not release him from it, and you have denied his gift to you. His body cannot give it, and seek it not through yours. Yet your minds are already continuous, and their union need only be accepted, and the loneliness in heaven is gone. Paragraph 89. If you would but let the Holy Spirit tell you of the love of God for you, and the need your creations have to be with you forever, you would experience the attraction of the eternal. No one can hear him speak of this and long remain willing to linger here, for it is your will to be in heaven, where you are complete and quiet in such sure and loving relationships that any limit is impossible. Would you not exchange your little relationships for this? For the body is little and limited, and only those whom you would see without the limits the ego would impose on them can offer you the gift of freedom. Paragraph 90. You have no conception of the limits you have placed on your perception, and no idea of all the loveliness that you could see. But this you must remember: the attraction of guilt opposes the attraction of God. But this you must remember: the attraction of guilt opposes the attraction of God. This attraction for you remains unlimited, but because your power, being His, is as great as His, you can turn away from love. What you invest in guilt, you withdraw from God. And your sight grows weak and dim and limited, for you have attempted to separate the Father from the Son and limited their communication. Seek not atonement in further separation. Seek not atonement in further separation. And limit not your vision of God's Son to what interferes with His release and what the Holy Spirit must undo to set Him free. For His belief in limits has imprisoned Him. For His belief in limits has imprisoned Him. And the last paragraph we'll read today, 91, and I've got most of this one underlined. When the body ceases to attract you, and when you place no value on it as a means for getting anything, then there will be no interference in communication, and your thoughts will be as free as God's. Let's read that sentence again. When the body ceases to attract you, and when you place no value on it as a means for getting anything, then there will be no interference in communication, and your thoughts will be as free as God's. As you let the Holy Spirit teach you how to use the body only for the purposes of communication, and renounce its use for separation and attack, which the ego sees in it, you will learn you have no need of a body at all. In the holy instant, there are no bodies, and you experience only the attraction of God. Accepting it as undivided, you join Him wholly in an instant, for you would place no limits on your union with Him. The reality of this relationship becomes the only truth that you could ever want. All truth is here. And until tomorrow, thank you very much for joining me. Practice, I will I will there be light, and there is no will but God's. So tomorrow, or during the day, I do this a day early, so I'm doing it today, but you'll do it tomorrow. I just slipped out and said tomorrow. What I meant is when you do your lesson today, be sure to say, I will there be light, and in the afternoon, there is no will but God's. I will there be light, and there is no will but God's.